It started like any other high-profile celebrity guest appearance. The bright studio lights of The View beamed down on the familiar panel of hosts as the audience buzzed with anticipation. That morning, viewers tuned in to see none other than Nicolas Cage, the enigmatic, unpredictable star of countless cult classics and box office hits. Dressed in a velvet green blazer over a black shirt with silver buttons, Cage walked on stage with his signature swagger, flashing a grin that straddled the line between charming and chaotic. He had recently been promoting his latest role in avant-garde indie film in which he played a time-traveling philosopher trapped in a loop of forgotten centuries. It was weird, poetic, and exactly the kind of role Cage had leaned into in recent years. The panel welcomed him with claps and praise. Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Alyssa Farah Griffin all took turns introducing him and bringing up some of his most famous roles from Face Off to Leaving Las Vegas. To the internet's fascination with his intense acting style, the energy in the room was light, humorous, even affectionate. That was, until a question from Joy Behar took a sharp left turn, changing the tone of the interview completely and triggering one of the most unexpected moments in the show's history. Joy, known for her directness, looked over her glasses and leaned forward. "Nicolas, you've done some incredible work, but you've also said in interviews that you don't believe in taking acting classes, and yet you give some of the most, let's say, unique performances we've ever seen." The studio tittered with awkward laughter. Cage blinked. There was a moment of silence where no one could tell if he was amused or insulted. "Joy," he finally said, with a strange, calm intensity. "What you call unique, I call pure. I don't act to please critics. I don't move to fit within the walls others build for me." He paused. "That's what the character of humanity is. Raw, unpredictable. You don't teach chaos." It was classic Cage philosophical, dramatic, borderline surreal. But Joy wasn't done. "Well, sure," she replied, waving her hand. "But some of those roles, like Wicker Man, you were running around screaming about bees. That wasn't art. That was a meme waiting to happen." The audience gasped. Cage's smile dropped. The tension in the air tightened. What started as playful ribbing now felt like a critical examination, and Nicolas Cage was not going to let it go unanswered. His voice dropped to a lower octave as he leaned closer to the table, his eyes narrowing. "You know what the problem is?" he said, almost whispering. "It's this kind of institutionalized snark that's killing creativity. You mock something because it doesn't fit into your well-lit, coffee table version of entertainment." Whoopi intervened, trying to steer the conversation back to safe territory. All right, let's talk about your new movie. What's the message you want the audience to take away?" Cage, without breaking eye contact with Joy, responded, "The message is that art has no obligation to be palatable. Sometimes it's disturbing, sometimes it's absurd, and sometimes it's the truth dressed like a lunatic." The audience was caught between admiration and discomfort. The live camera cut to a commercial, but the tension only escalated off-screen. According to insiders, during the break, Cage stood up and told a producer, "I came here to talk about the film, not to be ridiculed." Joy reportedly rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath, which Cage heard, and that's when things took a turn for the worst. When they returned from break, Cage was still visibly tense. Alyssa Farah Griffin tried to inject some levity. "So, Nicolas, you've also done a lot of action films. Between all the stunts and intensity, do you ever just want to do a romantic comedy?" That, apparently, was the final straw. Cage laughed, but it wasn't humorous. "You know, that's the thing. You all want me to be digestible, to fit into some tidy genre. But I'm not here to play that game. I'm not your Hollywood toy, to wind up and watch dance." His voice rose. "I'm an artist. Damn it, I bleed for every role I take. And if that makes me weird in your world, then maybe your world needs more weird." Whoopi leaned in with urgency. "All right, we're gonna have to cut this short." But Cage wasn't done. "No, Whoopi, no more cutting short. You invited me. You put me here, then let me speak." Joy, trying to take back the mic, said, "Okay, that's enough. Nicolas." He turned to her. "Don't enough me. Not when you just spent 10 minutes mocking my life's work." The control room went into chaos. Producers waving their arms to cue a hard exit. The audience was stunned. No claps, just the sound of Cage's heavy breathing and Whoopi muttering, "We need security." What happened next wasn't airbet-leaked phone footage from an audience member later revealed the shocking ending. As the segment was cut, Cage stood up, tossed his microphone onto the table, and walked around the host desk, pacing like a caged animal. Security approached cautiously, but he held up his hands. "I'm leaving. I'm not going to be the circus act you all want." He looked into the audience and said, "They'll turn anyone into a punchline. Don't let them turn you into one." Then, in a moment worthy of one of his movies, he slowly walked off set without another word. Social media exploded. Clips of the outburst went viral within minutes, with hashtags like #Cage on The View, #Let Cage Speak, and #View Meltdown trending worldwide. Twitter was ablaze with debate. Some viewers praised Cage's passion and refusal to be belittled. Others accused him of overreacting and disrespecting the hosts. Memes flooded Instagram and TikTok, comparing the moment to everything from a gladiator's rebellion to a Shakespearean monologue gone rogue. Backstage, chaos continued. One producer was reportedly crying. Another tried to contact Cage's publicist, who was unreachable for over an hour. Joy Behar was overheard saying, "I've been in this business for decades. Never have I seen anything like that." Whoopi, more measured, told staff, "We shouldn't have pushed him. He's volatile, but that's also what makes him." Cage, for his part, got into a black SUV without saying a word to anyone. That night, a cryptic Instagram story appeared on his rarely used profile. It was just a black screen with white text that read, "They fear what they don't understand. But the fire burns on." The post was deleted an hour later, but screenshots had already spread across Reddit and entertainment blogs. Journalists began digging into the behind-the-scenes dynamic of The View, raising questions about whether the show had become too confrontational with guests in search of viral moments. Meanwhile, the debate over Nicolas Cage's legacy intensified online, becoming a full-blown cultural conversation. In the following days, media outlets scrambled to get statements. ABC issued a carefully worded response, saying, "We regret that our recent segment did not meet the standards of respectful dialogue we aim to uphold." Cage's publicist released a single line, "Mr. Cage stands by his comments and his right to defend his artistic vision." Interviews from past co-stars emerged, many defending Cage's intensity as misunderstood genius. Eva Mendes described him as a rare breed who feels every moment, while Pedro Pascal, who had worked with him on The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, tweeted, "That man puts his soul into every frame. Respect it or don't invite it." Some critics called for The View to re-evaluate its approach to artist interviews, while others accused Cage of being narcissistic and unable to handle criticism. The polarized response only fed the fire. YouTube channels broke down the footage frame by frame with titles like Nicolas Cage versus The View, who was really out of line, gaining millions of views. Despite the storm, Cage remained quiet. He canceled 2 follow-up interviews that week and was a no-show at a planned film festival Q&A. Then, a week later, he re-emerged not on a talk show or red carpet, but in a surprise guest spot at a Los Angeles poetry slam. Dressed in black and wearing dark sunglasses, he walked onto the stage and read an original piece titled Glass Tables, a veiled metaphor about transparency, distortion, and public humiliation. The crowd gave a standing ovation. Someone recorded it, and the video went viral yet again. Fans began organizing online campaigns to free Cage from media mockery, while a few satirical late-night hosts playfully asked, "Is Cage okay?" The incident was soon immortalized in fan art, short films, and even a Cage-inspired NFT that sold for over $40,000. In a world increasingly hungry for real emotion in a sea of PR-scripted appearances, Cage had somehow transformed a breakdown into a breakthrough. Whether it was performance or raw emotion or both, people couldn't look away. Eventually, Nicolas Cage did return to television, but not in the way anyone expected. He appeared in a self-produced documentary about his life, titled Uncaged: The Artist Inside, released on a streaming platform known for spotlighting visionary creators. In it, he spoke candidly about fame, the public's obsession with personality over process, and how that View moment, though chaotic, represented everything he had ever tried to express. That the artist's soul is not meant to be dissected. Like a product on a talk show table, you can't bottle lightning, he said. You can't sit it down under studio lights and ask it to explain itself. That line, too, went viral. Uncaged received critical acclaim, even from outlets that had previously mocked him. Suddenly, the moment that had seemed like a PR disaster began to feel like a defining act of rebellion against formulaic media. And as Cage himself said in the final scene of the doc, staring directly into the camera, "They didn't kick me off, I walked off. Because sometimes, the only way to be heard is to walk away."